Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We're here today on episode 1699 of the Cabral Concept. It's great to have you with me here today. Looking forward to fulfilling a promise I made many years ago, and that was being able to teach people all around the world Ayurvedic medicine and all of Ayurvedic's wisdom through a more approachable fashion. And that's what I want to share with you here today, is understanding how to actually use the change of the seasons for good and better build up the reserves and vitality in our body by following a specific eating pattern that has been known about for many thousands of years, and of course, well beyond that as well. And that's because there would have been specific foods in specific climates that were meant for us in far more abundance for us to eat. So I want to share with you those foods here today, but also begin to explain to you an Ayurvedic way of viewing the world. So if you're new to Ayurveda, I would love you to go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and simply click on the little graphic at the top. You can scroll through the graphics of the different styles of podcasts that we have, the different informational topics, everything from thyroid to digestion to intermittent fasting to the virus to everything. And there's one on Ayurveda. And I take you, I would say, step by step and podcast by podcast of what are the body types? Well, how do they correspond with these things that we call doshas? What's the right exercise for a vata or a pitta or a kapha? And so you begin to understand that we are unique as individuals and we really can figure out what we need to do the right thing for our bodies. So today we're going to be talking about grounding foods for fall and every single season. Yes, I will bring you a new podcast on the best foods to eat for that season. And yes, it can be used for weight loss. That's why, again, a wellness and weight loss Wednesday show. Yes, these can be used for weight loss. And we're going to use them to overall to get healthy, right? Because a healthy body can't be sick, it can't be unhealthy, it can't be overweight, and it certainly can't be aging at a rapid rate. So that's what I want to share with you here today. I love being able to teach on Ayurveda, I really do. I've had many, many mentors, of course, but the mentor who brought everything together that helped me get well now, more than 20 years ago, really I'm trying to make good in that promise that she saw me as someone that should be teaching, that should be serving people for all of the books I'd read and information, all those different things. And she was really the person that pushed me to pursue my degree and to, I don't think she necessarily meant travel all over the world, but that's more my personality and that's what I decided to do and simply now be able to share that with you in the real world. So I've made some notes here for you today. I'll certainly copy and paste them right over, and I make this really easy. I mean, there are so many different things to focus on, but honestly, every single episode of the Cabral Concept, I want it to be actionable information. If you can't actually take action on it, then all of this is just for show and it's not actually for go, right? You can't actually use it in your life. So listen to the show, whether you're in your car or walking around, whatever it might be. And then you can head over to stephencabral.com/1699. And I'm going to post a simple list of foods. There's many lists of foods out there for Ayurvedic fall foods. I'm going to keep it really simple. Here's the thing. You can continue to eat the foods you've always been eating. I don't say not to do that. I don't. What I say is you can begin to incorporate more of these foods and spices as well, because believe it or not, the spices are what actually can balance the body. These are the herbs that are grown in nature. So let me share with you right off the bat some of those spices that can make any then smoothie, lunch, or dinner the perfect meal for the fall season. So I like to start with the big four from Ayurveda. So the big four spices from Ayurveda are cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, and cumin. And I've talked about this before, but especially during the fall and winter, a really nice spice. You can go back, check out this podcast I did on the different spices you can add to coffee. For all the people out there who love waking up and having a coffee or a tea, believe it or not, just by adding just a little bit, a pinch of some of these spices can actually help to balance more of the vata. And you know what? I should actually talk more about that first. Let me just share with you this. Those people that aren't familiar with Ayurveda yet, understand that the Vata season, which is fall, we need to basically be more grounded because the air is lighter, right? The air is drier. There's more of that breeze out there. So oftentimes, again, the fall season can sometimes bring with it a little bit more anxiety, a little bit more feeling of not being stable or grounded. So basically more from a mental-based perspective. Yes, there can be more drying of the skin, drying of the eyes, allergies. There can be maybe some more constipation or bloating. All of those things, without a doubt, can happen, right? Dry skin, dry hair, dry eyes, dry nails. Drying is part of the issue. So what we need to do is the opposite. I mean, Ayurveda really is all about balance. That's really what it's about. It's about achieving homeostasis or equilibrium. Again, all of traditional naturopathy talked about creating dynamic equilibrium within the body. That means the body's always in flux, always moving. It's our job to give it what it needs in order to stay balanced. So we need to focus on stabilizing the body and the mind right now, right? The mind and body are connected. Our psychology affects our physiology, and our physiology affects our psychology. So we have to understand is that body and mind are connected. So we want to essentially nourish our body with really good oil-based moisturizers and oils for the body, good fats for the body. We want to really work on grounding. That could be meditation. That could be our exercise practice. That could be our 3 anchors per day that we work on. All of these things can lead to a sense of stability and grounding. And I want to share with you some of these spices and foods can act the same exact way. So the big 4, right off the bat, in Ayurveda are cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, and cumin. And I can tell you for sure, cardamom, cinnamon, and cloves in your coffee is fantastic. I mean, it really is. Unless you have high histamine levels, there's almost no reason not to add a little bit of cardamom, cinnamon. Cardamom, by the way, is one of my favorite words to say. Cardamom, cinnamon, and cloves. Great for blood sugar, great as natural anti-inflammatories, great for balancing Vata. So a really nice thing to be able to add to your coffee all year round, by the way, but certainly during this fall season. I keep some. For sure, I have some at home, of course, but even some in the office. I really enjoy making a warm tea. We'll be talking about warming things for this fall season too, especially I live in New England, so the Boston area can be quite cold. It's already, believe it or not, getting into the 40s at night, Fahrenheit, and then during the day, just in the 60s. So certainly not a far cry already from summer. And again, it comes quick. The end of August, all of a sudden, we get those cool breezes up here in Boston and Maine. So again, those things are fantastic to add to smoothies, to whatever you'd like. One thing that I specifically add to my smoothies, because I don't stop doing smoothies, is I add some ginger. I mean, really, a half a thumb of ginger or a full thumb of ginger, if you can tolerate that much ginger, is the warmth that helps offset a cold smoothie. And again, what I do, and I do even in the summer, is I make a smoothie and I just let it sit for 15 minutes or so. Like I just don't drink it right away. And it doesn't get all the way to room temperature. I'm not saying to do that, but I do allow it to just kind of warm up a bit. And that's an easy way. And then during this fall season, I go back to having my warm oatmeal with it. So I have warm oatmeal, and I can add a little bit of cloves, which is really, really nice. Some ground cloves and some cinnamon, of course, maybe even some warm apple with it, or just add the apple slices in there with the hot water that you're adding to your oats. It's a very simple breakfast. I mean, it honestly is. Smoothie and oatmeal. I mean, we do it for our girls almost every single morning. It's warm, it's nourishing. It is the perfect, really, Vata-based breakfast there. So very, very nourishing. Nutmeg is another one. Nutmeg inside of coffee, absolutely fantastic. I mean, it really is. We've got some great recipes too with some macadamia nut milk, the chocolate daily nutritional support, some nutmeg in there, add a little banana, add a little almond butter or pecan butter, whatever you want to add. Just makes absolutely delicious, delicious smoothies. You add nutmeg and banana together, it's fantastic. Another great one to add to some of those smoothies is some natural vanilla. We already have a natural vanilla, non-GMO, of course, in our daily nutritional support, but that doesn't mean you can't add a little bit of your own natural vanilla. I don't like vanilla extracts with alcohol and a lot of other additives that have a lot more glutamate. If you've heard me speak about that on a previous show, not a huge advocate of that. But certainly you can get some natural ground vanilla. It's quite expensive, to be honest with you, because it's more rare, but you can get it, and you only need a pinch, and you only want a pinch to be truthful. Other things that are great in your smoothie, or again, even a little bit of oatmeal, but overall, if you're suffering from a lot of these Vata-based things, you can add a little bit of Himalayan sea salt or rock salt or Celtic sea salt to any of these meals. And what that does is it actually helps the adrenals. So the adrenals need sodium as well because they produce mineral corticoids and they use sodium in the body. So that's a great thing. And of course, you're probably getting a lot of potassium if you're following our 7 to 9 cups of fruits and veggies every single day. So those are all great things to do. A lot of people ask me about pepper. Can I use pepper with Vata? You can. I mean, it can be a little stimulating, but there's nothing wrong with using a little pepper as well, as long as it doesn't aggravate you. That's really it. A pepper is something that I enjoy. I think it's a good digestive as well. And other ones that I use, again, I'm giving you a lot of the ones that I use too. Rosemary. Rosemary, if you are someone that cooks some meat or chicken or any of those things, rosemary is great with it, but rosemary can go great with veggies as well, roasted vegetables. We'll be talking about in a moment. Turmeric, root-based vegetables in general, any root-based herbs are great too. Okay, so next I want to move on to the nourishing. So again, those herbs, so you can continue to eat any foods you want, honestly. But if you start to add some of those natural herbs to it, well, it's going to spice up your life. It's going to help balance this fall season as well. So a little bit of warmth in there. Okay, best oils, in my opinion, a lot of people will recommend things like peanut oil or almond oil or what's another one in Ayurveda, safflower oil. And I don't have a huge issue with those. I really don't. Not so much peanut. I don't recommend peanuts for too many people because of the aflatoxins potential, all of that. But I'm okay with a little safflower oil. I really am, as long as you don't oxidize it. But the best oils really are going to come from your sesame oil. Really nice. If you haven't used sesame oil yet or heard about the benefits, please go to stephencabral.com/podcast and just type in sesame and you'll see my Friday review I did on sesame oil. Olive oil. Olive oil is never going to go on a style. It is a monounsaturated fat and it's hard to really go against the power of a Mediterranean-based diet. And you can absolutely do that through Ayurveda as well. And then ghee. So if you're someone that likes to cook with a little bit of a saturated fat because it has a better smoke point, then you can absolutely use ghee. I would prefer, and in my house, we use a grass-fed, grass-finished ghee. There's many great brands out there. I've recommended some brands before, and I'll set those up. The resources page is almost available. By the time you hear this, it probably will be available, and you can just go to stephencabral.com/resources, and I have a lot of those things right there. Again, I don't use a lot of ghee, but I will use it for some things, and my wife does cook with it as well, and she's a great cook, and so we do use ghee. And that is our preferred butter-based source. If you don't know what ghee is, definitely tune into a previous show on that. All right, so those are my favorite fats. I mean, there are more, but those are my favorite fats for fall. Adding in ghee, which you probably wouldn't use as much during the summer, and even spring, I would say. And definitely ghee would fall into the fall and winter-based category. So next up is legumes. Let's say that you're someone that wants to add in different types of vegan-based proteins. Well, we'll talk about the animal-based ones in a second, but vegan-based proteins, again, you always have a lot of your chickpeas and your black beans and all those things out there, and those are great. But what I want to share with you is that during the fall season, if you're still sticking with those, well, fantastic. But here's what you want to do. You probably want to sprout them, or you probably want to soak them. You definitely want to cook them, or you want to puree them. So you want to make it a little bit easier. You kind of want to break down the outer shell of the chickpea, kind of pull off that little clear outer layer. For black beans, same thing. You just kind of want to soak them, sprout them, cook them, blend them, make them into a soup. Those are all great warming things for Vata. But kidney beans can be great. They're not great for me. I've been sensitive to them ever since I started doing food sensitivity at 19 years old. But kidney beans can be a great fall food for people. And then I would say mung beans and dal, one and the same, but those are fantastic. Buy them sprouted, buy them split. Mung beans is great. All of those can be cooked and can really be a great source of protein. Really good for the gut too. A lot of people don't know that, but really great for the gut. All right, let's say that you do eat animal-based proteins. This is actually a season. This in winter can be a good season to add some of those animal proteins back in. They're more heating for the body. So if you're going to stick with your animal-based proteins, I want you to stick to pastured-based chicken. I want you to stick to your grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I want you to stick to wild game if you can. I mean, this is more of that season as well. So if you can get venison, if you can get elk, if you can get bison, those are much cleaner, lower fat, meat-based varieties, and they're less inflammatory. I mean, they really are. there's a lot of companies out there that do deliver. We're trying to connect you with some of those, and certainly I'll bring them to you on Friday reviews as well. But what you want to look for, if you can, is a less inflammatory meat, and that's really it. And again, you don't want to go overboard. You don't need to eat a pound of meat at a sitting. You could eat 4 to 6 ounces. You really can, and you could do it once a day maximum, or just a couple times a week. And again, it's about bringing balance to your body. I certainly don't believe anyone at any point in time was ever eating, again, like within the last few years or so, eating meat 3 times a day. Really, like that is 1800s and beyond. It's really more 1900s that people were able to do that, or for the very rich. And believe it or not, they had the most health-based issues. So I think that, again, I don't think that you need to cut out meat completely from your diet. It's a personal choice. I support vegan-based lifestyle. I support paleo-based lifestyle. But eating meat 3 times a day is certainly not going to be healthy for anyone. Okay. Best grains for the fall season. So again, when I talk about grains and we talk about vata, we certainly want to soak them. You can do overnight oats if you want, heat them, cook them, sprout them. You want to cook them in some way, right? So you want to make them easier to digest, because with vata, sometimes it leads to a little bit more gas and bloating and constipation. So we just want to make sure that when we're adding in something like a basmati rice, or we're adding in oats, which of course is my favorites, just because of the benefits with cholesterol and blood pressure and blood sugar. Believe it or not, oats can help with all of those things. Now, if you have an oat-based allergy, that's a problem, but you could run a food sensitivity test to check that out. You can buy gluten-free oats. You can buy organic oats. I have them on my resources pages, so definitely check those out as well. Okay, brown rice, basmati rice, yasmin rice, those are all great. What else? Quinoa, amaranth are more of like the ancient-based grains, and those can be great as well. Again, cook them, heat them, sprout them, soak them, however you want to do it, make them easier to digest. All right, and we're going to go through 2 more. We'll end with the fruit, the vegetables that I'm bringing more into the table. I'm going to make it really easy for you, the root vegetables. So this is the harvest time as we move into the fall for root veggies. Root vegetables happen to be my favorite vegetables, except for broccoli, of course, but pumpkin, squash, winter squashes, sweet potatoes, okra, beets, carrots, parsnips, and then you can bring in some peppers like chilies, and you bring in some garlic and some onions. All of those things can be great. Just make sure, again, that you don't have bacterial overgrowth in your gut or candida overgrowth in your gut. If you do, well, you can absolutely test those with the candida vitamins and metabolic test. You can do the CBO protocol. You can do any of those specific things. But here are my favorites. We just had squash the other night. We had our first acorn squash. I love butternut squash. All of the squashes are great. And we do sweet potatoes all the time. My favorites are Japanese yams, regular sweet potatoes, and then Okinawan purple potatoes as well. So those are just some of my favorites. All right. We do rainbow carrots all the time. We love those. We try to get them organic in Boston, in Maine. Those are absolutely, roast them, cook them, add some rosemary. Fantastic. A little olive oil afterwards. And then fruits to favor. Okay, so some of my favorite fruit for the fall season are going to be, again, those fruit that we would typically harvest. So let's look more towards apples. Yes, pears are part of that, but apples can be even better for the vata. And yes, a lot of people prefer to cook them more for vatas. But honestly, if you don't have a lot of bloating, you don't have a lot of gas, you can have an apple. Like, it's okay. I mean, again, like, I've studied Ayurveda inside and out, and we can individualize that. Again, if you have a lot of bloating, then, well, yeah, you want to do a little bit more cooked than raw food for vata, but certainly some raw veggies and some raw fruit can be great for your body as well. Avocados, dates, and figs. So if you're not someone that has a lot of issues around weight gain and blood sugar, dates and figs are fantastic for the vata. And what I'll do sometimes is I take the pit out and I just drop 1 date into my smoothie, and it gives it some really nice flavor and some good vitality for the body. Dates are just loaded with vitamins and minerals. Bananas, well, of course, bananas are great for vata, good for the season, easy to add to a smoothie as well. And then we have our citrus fruit. So we've got lemons and limes. Of course, we can use those all year round, but that nice little acid too is great for digestion. You can just squeeze some in your water, some of your sparkling water. You can do that. Grapefruit is another one that I would add to the list of those citrus-based fruits. Oranges, I know I believe I put tangerines somewhere on the list. If you have access to those, you could certainly do that. And mangoes and papayas are certainly one of my favorites as well. A little bit more of an exotic fruit, a little higher glycemic index. So if you're someone that's kind of trying to keep the weight off, well, you might just do a half a cup in a smoothie maximum, and that could give it some really nice flavor. I'll do mangoes, and I've talked about this before, but pineapple, mango, passion fruit, banana, a little bit of coconut cream in there in a smoothie with the vanilla daily nutritional support or the chocolate daily nutritional support. It's out of this world. It is an unbelievable recipe. And every time that I do a second smoothie a day, that's what I call my tropical smoothie. If you haven't downloaded my smoothie recipe guide, it's free. You can just go to stevencabral.com/podcast, pick a podcast, any podcast you want, scroll down past the show notes, and you'll find that downloadable PDF. So that is it. Those are my favorite Ayurvedic foods for fall. These are the ones that I absolutely add into my own life. The citrus ones that I just mentioned have a lot of vitamin C. They're also very cleansing for the body. The fall is a great time to really remove from the body. So a little bit of fasting, not too much, because that would then exacerbate or that would increase vata. But many people in our community just did the 7, 14, or 21-day equilibrium detox. So hopefully you enjoyed your experience there. I finished mine up. I do it every single season. It absolutely sets me right at the pace that I should be. And then I typically do my Monday fast as well. You can check out those in a separate podcast. But again, the citrus has the vitamin C. The root vegetables help keep us grounded. All these spices can be added to coffees, teas, and smoothies to make them more balanced for us. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, I love doing these Ayurvedic shows. And yes, I will do one for each season going forward. Feel free to ask your Ayurvedic questions. And of course, if this podcast was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.